Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this special Thanksgiving upload. And first, I do have to thank you and so many watching right now. Your support has come in so many different ways, directly and indirectly. It means so much to me and my family. I want to simply say thank you. I wish you and your family the very best this Thanksgiving. Now, if you've never been on my channel, it's all about Corvette, and we promote it in every aspect. But more importantly, it really is about the relationships that we're making because of this car. I love interacting with car people, especially Corvette people. Today, we're going to talk with Keith from Corvetteblogger.com. He, just like myself, lives and breathes Corvette. Keith, happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for taking the time to talk with us. I'm excited to feature you because over the years, well, of course, your website, Corvetteblogger.com, is #1 in the world. You share just anything and everything in regards to Corvette, from a traffic ticket to news and information, what's going on. You've been kind enough to feature me from time to time, but now it's time to feature you, buddy. Congratulations on your brand new 2025 Eray.
Well, thanks, Rick. You know, this has been a dream car for me, like everybody that's kind of had this dream. And the funny thing is, I never, like, when the first C8 came out, the coupe, I never really said, oh, I got to have it. I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's mid-engine. You know, it looks, very exotic. It's very, sports car with all the benefits that come with being a mid-engine. But I never really wanted one until I saw the convertible when they revealed that at the Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah.
And then after that, I knew, wow, I was smitten. But then it was only, I kind of went back and looked at the timeline, and sometime between the launch of the convertible and probably the start of production in the following, I think it was February or March, right. Started hearing about this all-wheel drive model that might be coming. Also, that was hybrid powered. So I'm like, damn, I think this is the one for me. So that's what was kind of the catalyst, was the convertible. But then when I heard all-wheel drive, I just go back to all the people saying, Keith, why all-wheel drive? And I said, or no, they say, Keith, why the E-Ray? And I said, it's because of the all-wheel drive. Right. All these times I've seen cars going up against the Corvette at the drag strip, and they lose if the Corvette is going up against an all-wheel drive car like a GTR or something else. So, yeah, for me, it was just, I just knew I had to have it, and I spent the last 4 years saving up for it. And things got even better when the Hysteria Purple came out in April, because then I really had my color. So, yeah, it's been a long time coming. I've had the car now for just 1 month, but it's it's the best damn sports car ever, Rick.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I do want to talk more about the Eray, but let's back up a little bit and talk about some of your first and past Corvette experiences. I know you still have a 66 Corvette. How did that come to be in your life?
Yeah, so I grew up in a Corvette household. My dad bought a 66 Corvette 2 years before I was born. And it's a really cool story. He was working for a Johnson & Johnson company called Ethicon up in New Jersey. And that year, Johnson & Johnson awarded a brand new Ford Mustang, 66 Ford Mustang, to its top sales guys in each of their divisions. And my dad won that car.
Oh, wow.
But my dad was a Chevy guy. And the story says that he said, what would I do with an old Ford anyways? He picked it up, drove it down to a Chevrolet dealer, and traded it in on this tuxedo black 1966 Corvette convertible. And just, like an older sister, I grew up with that car. It's been in the family the whole time. My dad passed away when I was in high school back in the early 80s. So my mom was like the widow with a Corvette in the barn. It was a small town. Everybody knew about it. My dad had like 7 or 8 other cars. We eventually sold them all up, but she always kept the Corvette. So I ended up going through high school, ended up going through college. I moved down to Florida afterwards. I was down in Florida in 1993 or so, and then just in the conversation, my mom says, hey, if you want that Corvette, you can come and get it. And I think my wife and I flew up within the next 3 weeks, borrowed a friend's pickup truck and towed it down. I didn't have any place to put it, so I stashed it at my brother-in-law's for a little bit. Then it sat in a good friend's garage for a couple months, and we went house hunting. I went garage hunting, and finally found the perfect place. And so, the interesting thing about the black Corvette is that, I always call it my dad's Corvette. It'll always be my dad's Corvette. I've owned it longer than he did. I've had it since 93, but it's just such a special car and so many great memories in it. My kids have grown up in it just the same way that I did in mine. And so it's just been a great legacy that I got passed on to. It's the reason why I'm in Corvettes today is because of this car. Wow. And hopefully, my son eventually will get the car as well, and he'll have a really good story to tell about it.
Oh, that's incredible. Now, you did have another one for a short stint. Is that correct? Another Corvette?
Yeah, so I have this classified ads website, which kind of got me started online, called VetFinders.com, and a local guy had a 1979 T-top model. It was beige, Corvette beige with the beige interior. It had a really bad rust problem, and I think I bought it for like $2,000 or something like that. Oh, wow. And drove it for a little bit. We actually ended up, as a project, taking it apart. We, asked it to dip the frame and all that stuff, and then put it all back together. But the problem with the 79s is that there's always a nicer one just around the corner from you. And so, it was really hard to sell. I took a loss on it, but it was a great learning process. It was a lot of fun doing all the stuff that we did to it anyways. So I don't really consider it a loss. It was just, time to wipe the hands and move on to something else.
Right on. Now, speaking of CorvetteBlogger.com, I think that site is another way for you to kind of express your passion, sharing information. But I think with the world, they appreciate everything from big news to little news. I mean, every day you've got an update, and sometimes we're just amazed at what goes on in the world of Corvette. How long have you had CorvetteBlogger.com?
Yeah, so we started in 2005, August of 2005. So this is actually coming up into our 20th anniversary, which, Rick, unbelievable. I never, ever, ever, ever thought we'd be doing this 20 years after. It just became a way that I could kind of talk about, Corvettes other than through Vet Finders and those Corvettes for sale. So, yeah, I all kinds of stories interest us. I especially love the pop culture, all those kinds of things that you find, and we're just so well embedded. We just kind of see stuff come along, and now we've been around for so long. I have readers sending me links all the time, so it's been a really great labor of love, and just the reception on it has been fantastic.
Oh, that's great, and I appreciate a lot of times, like I said at the beginning of today's show, you've acknowledged me. You and I met when I was covering stuff for the Corvette community to keep myself informed, but also to share that with other people. We met at the Bash event, and you gave me some compliments and said, hey, I really like how you're filming and covering this stuff, and said there's got to be a little something to these GM events, the Bash events and stuff like that. So through us doing our jobs and expressing our passion for the car, we became friends, and I really enjoyed it ever since.
It was, I tell people that, Rick was kind of the inspiration for me. Of course, all the blogs were coming online and a lot of things going on. When at first I was thinking about starting a blog, I couldn't think of, is there enough information? Is there enough stories to go around? Is it going to be interesting? And of course, it totally is. There's totally so many stories out there.
Right.
But like I said, the inspiration for some of the stuff that we've done over the years is from you, because you were the very first to stand in the back of that Chevrolet theater and film those seminars at the Bash where all the new stuff's coming out. And, YouTube was probably just a couple years old at the time when you were doing it.
Right.
And I'm like, man, that looks like fun. Plus, you're getting all the latest news immediately. And, you're not waiting for Rick to put out a video. So it was just, for me, it was just like, wow, this is really cool. So, yeah, I want to thank you for being that inspiration. And I don't give that out lightly. I mean, this was something that looked like a lot of fun, and you looked like you were having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I've enjoyed our conversations and friendship over the years. We've had some great direct conversations. We've shared some intel just because we love the car and we're curious and want to see the car continue to be a success, which it has been and will continue to be, I think, long after we're gone. But there's some great stuff coming for the car, and because of your media site, you've been invited to a number of events. You go to a number of these events and you get to drive these cars. So doesn't that drive you crazy? I mean, wasn't there at some point in the C8 era that you're driving and giving some feedback and writing stories that you said, hey, I got to have one of these, even though I know you were kind of thinking this, thinking that. But I mean, when you're behind the wheel well before the public was, I mean, that had to be a little bit of a motivator.
It was, and in fact, and I actually got to drive the C8 February 2020, just before COVID hit. Chevrolet had a ride and drive out at Las Vegas and then at the Ron Fellows School. And so we got to drive out there, and the big eye-opener for this, and you'll appreciate this as well, was how fun this car was with an autocross course. Because you can get on the road courses, and to be honest with you, I enjoy the road courses, but because they're not my cars, because I'm not in a Corvette every day, I was always more nervous than I was, enjoying the fun. I was like, oh God, I'm not going to be that guy that, flies off the course. But the autocross, on the other hand, really demonstrates a lot of the capabilities of the car, just at lower speeds. And then you got the competition to boot. So that was one of the things that I really enjoyed out there. But so many things about the C8, changed my perception of Corvettes, and especially later model Corvettes, because I like I said, I never had any inclination to get one. I love my 66. For me, that's my forever car. So, it was just one of those things where it was an eye-opener to, drive the car in an autocross, but then also the convertible model again. There's no 16 seconds to open the top or close the top. Right. You don't lose any storage. It's a hard top, so you don't have any of that road noise, and the top stays nice, unlike the canvas tops can get a little worn after a while. So for me, it was just the perfect Corvette, and sure enough, the all-wheel drive was the cherry on top.
You kind of stole a little bit of my one question at the beginning of the show, but I know it's because you're so excited. You've got your new Eray, and I'm seeing a lot of shift in the focus on the market going to Eray. I've already hinted that I'm considering an Eray for a number of the reasons, but anything else you want to add to that? Why you chose Eray, and then spin right into, you just had your first car show, so tell me about that too, man.
Sure. Well, another thing with the Eray is I did drive the C7 Z06, and again, it was just one of those cars that in the back of my mind is like, this car can bite you in the butt as quickly as you can put the throttle down, So there's always a little bit of a scare factor with that car. With the C8 Z06, I just was never really a Z06 person, and the sound that the car makes today, it's a beautiful sound, but for me, I love the LT2. I like the lower end torque that the LT2 gives us, and then combined with the all-wheel drive, again, just the ability to, you press that gas pedal down and you're getting pushed back in your seat. Oh, yeah. You're going nice and straight. You're not getting squirrely at all. So there was a lot of that involved. Plus, I'm hardly ever going to be on a road course, I think. So the touring aspects of the car, I want to do some driving with it. And it is really one of the best touring cars out there. And I think Chevrolet even said it's one of their softest Corvette rides of all the three models. So that was a big thing as well. The interesting thing is when I went to the car show, it was the Ultimate Corvette Party. It was hosted by Sun and Fun Corvettes. it was just a party. There's no judging or anything like that. So people are just walking around.
Cool.
And I had a bunch of Stingray people coming to me and say, I was never really, I love my Stingray. I've had it for 2 or 3 years, but now I see this E-Ray and I'm really interested in it. So I had a lot of questions coming at me as, from Stingray buyers, thinking, they might want to consider upgrading. And again, it's if you've got the means to do it and you're looking for a better experience in a Corvette, I think the E-Ray is the perfect answer for that Stingray upgrade.
What do people think of the Hysteria color? There's a lot of talk on that new color.
Again, we were outside. When this car is outside, it is beautiful. I mean, it just shows, and as you walk around, the color changes. And so we had a lot of comments. I did hear people say, it looks blue. But out in the sun, most of them were like, wow, that is a really pretty color. They're glad they saw it in person, especially in the sun that we were at. You get the car indoors, the color changes. It becomes gray. It becomes a darker, real purple without the metallic in it. And the blue kind of goes away. So that's another thing that I do really like about it is that color shifting aspects of it. I mean, like any new Corvette owner, I'm out in my garage, saying goodnight to my car before I go to bed, and just checking her out and seeing it. And again, it's just beautiful. We added the black nacelles and roof too. I've got chrome wheels from Wheelcraft that are coming this week, hopefully. Oh wow! And then my little exclamation point on the car is, and I wasn't sure, Rick, how this was going to go. Is I did the torch red, the bright red calipers on the car. Okay. And then red seat belts, and I am so glad because it does add a nice bit of color to it. It goes perfectly with Hysteria, both as the bluer in the sun or the purple in the shade. It goes perfect with it. So I just couldn't be happier. I did the chrome emblems all around it because that just brightens it up. And again, the only one of the things I did too, scrape armor grille screens, because you got to have those. Yeah, I think those almost to the point need to be standard equipment, but nice job on a nice little accent with the seatbelts and the caliper. It's not overdone, just a nice compliment. And I've seen the pictures, and some of the folks have been watching some of the pictures today while we're talking. And yeah, the car does look fantastic. And I just love talking with you. It's just like before, we're talking on the channel, talking behind the scenes over the years that we've known each other about your passion for Corvette. And it just makes me smile. And I really do appreciate you taking the time today. One last thing before you go, and I'll let you enjoy your Thanksgiving. Now, you live in the Tampa Bay area, not traditionally known for horses and cows and that kind of stuff. You would think of Oklahoma, Ohio, and things like that. But you've got some animals in Tampa Bay. Tell us about that. Yeah, and so we're located about 2 blocks off of Tampa Bay, about a mile from MacDill Air Force Base. So if you look at the Tampa on the map, it's a peninsula. It comes down. But we've been here for 30 years in this house, and our house actually butts up against a farm that has been in this area for over 100 years now. Oh, wow. And we've gotten to know the farmers. My kids used to go over and collect eggs or help with milking the cows and stuff. So when my wife retired a couple years ago, she'd always wanted a horse. I said, having a horse is like being married. You just don't. It's not just a cat or a dog. It's something serious. Right. And but when she retired, I ran out of excuses. So she got her horse. Name is Paris. She lives right in I call it our backyard, but where our fence is, she's on the farm, and then we just have access to it. So not only do we have, she's ours, but then we help the farmers out with all their other stuff. So they've got chickens. They've got a family of goats, which are just hilarious because you look at a goat and you think it's like a dog, but they're not smart like dogs at all. They don't listen like dogs. They do goat things, and they're just crazy. So, and then my only other things is I got a koi pond, which I've had for about 10 or 15 years now. Oh. And that's kind of a passion for me as well. Those fish are a lot of fun to watch around and swim. And everybody's kind of amazed when they walk in the backyard and kind of see there's a pond and then there's a horse standing there, and it's pretty crazy. It was not like this just a few years ago. Yeah, not what you expected, Tampa Bay. Right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you at the upcoming events, and I would suspect now that you've got that good-looking E-Ray that you're not going to fly to the Bash next year, that you're going to drive. Yep, that's the plan. Driving to the Bash. Would like to go to a couple races, of course, in Florida in January, February, March. There's some great events down here. Yeah. Got like Mecum Kissimmee. We're going to go probably up to the Roar before the 24, and then the Daytona 24 race. There's Sebring, Amelia Island. So there's a lot of good stuff down here, all within driving distances. But yeah, that's the goal, is to bring the new E-Ray up to the Bash and kind of bring it home, so to speak. Right on. Good for you, man. Yep. Well,
Thanks for everything over the years, all the support, the friendship that we've built and continue to build. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for talking with us today, Keith.
Yeah, it's been great, Rick. Thank you so much for your friendship over the years. And as my personalized plaque on the E-Ray says, keep waving.
I love it. Fantastic. Nice job, buddy.